Elias bought the portrait from an antique shop that smelled of damp wood and forgotten time. The painting showed a woman wearing a deep green dress, her face pale, her eyes closed as if frozen in eternal sleep. Something about it felt wrong, but Elias convinced himself it was only the eerie style of the artist. That night, he hung it in the hallway near his bedroom door. As he walked past it, he heard it, the faintest sound. A slow inhale, a long, thin exhale. He froze. The house was empty. No windows open. No wind. The sound came again, soft but undeniable, as if someone were breathing only inches away. Elias stepped closer to the portrait. The woman's chest seemed slightly raised. It wasn't possible. He rubbed his eyes, blaming exhaustion. But when he looked again, a single strand of painted hair had shifted positions. Elias stumbled back, heart pounding. Something was happening inside that painting, something alive, and it was waking up. Elias tried to sleep, but the breathing grew louder in the hallway. Slow, steady, rhythmic, like lungs adjusting after a long rest. He covered his head with the blanket, but the sound seeped through the fabric, pulsing against his ears. Finally, unable to bear it, he stepped into the hallway. The portrait was subtly different. The woman's eyes, still closed, now had faint creases around them, as if she was trying to open them. The shadows beneath her lashes seemed deeper, darker. Elias lifted the painting carefully, intending to put it in storage, but the canvas felt warm. Not warm like a room-temperature object, warm like skin. He dropped it instantly. A soft moan escaped the painting. Elias froze as the woman's chest rose slightly, definitely higher than before. He backed away, whispering, "What are you?" The breathing shifted, becoming harsh, urgent, hungry. It no longer sounded like sleep. It sounded like awakening hunger. The next morning, Elias found scratch marks on the wall beneath the portrait. Long, thin grooves as if fingernails had scraped upward from the floor. The painting itself now showed the woman's head slightly tilted, almost imperceptibly, but enough to confirm something was moving inside it. Her lips, once expressionless, were now parted the slightest bit. Elias swallowed hard. He grabbed his phone, intending to take a picture, but the screen glitched every time he aimed it at the portrait. Static, black lines, a distorted face staring back, sometimes his own, sometimes hers. As he watched, her painted lips trembled. A soft whisper escaped the canvas. "Cold?" Elias stumbled backward and fell. The whisper turned into a drawn, shivering inhale. She was trying to breathe harder, trying to enter the world he was standing in. And the scratches on the wall suggested she had already tried. Elias decided to destroy it. He grabbed a kitchen knife and approached the portrait, his hands trembling. As the blade touched the canvas, a sudden gasp escaped the woman's painted mouth. A real, wet, breathy sound. Her eyes snapped open, revealing dark, hollow sockets swirling with something alive inside. Elias screamed and slashed the knife across the painting. Instead of tearing, the canvas rippled like soft flesh. Blood, thick and dark, splattered across his arm. The portrait shrieked, a sound that shook the entire hallway. The woman's hands burst out of the canvas, bony and shaking, grasping blindly for him. Elias dropped the knife and ran, the portrait's cries echoing behind him. When he glanced back, her arms were growing longer, reaching further out of the frame, pulling herself closer to escaping. The portrait was no longer asleep. It was being born. Elias hid in his bedroom, pushing furniture against the door. The breathing outside grew louder, raspy, hungry, impatient. Then came the scratching, slow at first, then frantic. The woman's voice, once only a whisper, now rasped clearly through the wood. "Warm? Let me in." Elias clutched his chest. This was no spirit trapped in a painting. This was something ancient using the portrait as a womb. A vessel. A door. And it was almost through. Suddenly, the breathing stopped. Silence swallowed the room. Elias leaned in, listening. A soft tap came from the window behind him. Then another. When he turned, his blood froze. The woman's face pressed against the glass, half-formed, smeared with dripping paint and blood. Her mouth opened impossibly wide, showing rows of teeth forming out of wet pigment. Her voice scraped through the window. "You saw me wake. Now let me live." Elias stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp as the creature's half-formed face smeared down the window, leaving streaks of red and dark green pigment like bleeding paint. The glass began to bulge inward, pushed by something heavy behind it. Each shove came with a sickening wet thud, as though flesh was hammering against the pane. "Warm, warm," the creature croaked, its voice warping, blending with 100 distorted whispers. Elias crawled toward the closet, heart racing so violently he felt it in his throat. Behind him, the window shattered, not in a sudden crash, but slowly, like melting ice. Shards slid down, dissolving into a fleshy substance. A long, pale arm, still dripping with paint, reached into the room, fingers stretching, bones cracking as they lengthened. The creature was entering, inch by inch, dragging its torso through the broken frame. Its eyes were now fully open, black voids swirling with tiny, moving shapes. As it pulled itself inside, it whispered, "You gave me breath. Now give me form." Elias bolted into the closet and slammed the door shut, shaking as the creature dragged itself across the floorboards. He could hear its paint-wet limbs slapping the wood, each impact leaving sticky smears behind. The breathing was louder now, deep, greedy, excited. Then the footsteps stopped. Silence pressed against the closet like a heavy weight. Elias held his breath. A soft scraping sound began on the door. Not claws, not fingernails. It was the sound of a paintbrush, slow, deliberate strokes. Through the thin crack, Elias saw black bristles sliding across the door, painting symbols he didn't recognize. As the mark spread, the air inside the closet thickened, growing colder with every second. His breath fogged in front of him. The creature whispered, voice echoing through the wood. Everything painted must be completed. The symbols began to glow faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Elias realized with horror what she was doing. She was painting him into her world, a trap made of pigment and darkness. The closet walls began to ripple like liquid canvas, colors bleeding through the wood, dark reds, sickly greens, and shades of black that swallowed the light. Elias pressed his back against the far wall, but it pulsed under him, as if something beneath the surface was breathing with him. A low hum vibrated through the tiny space. The symbols on the door flared bright, and the wood vanished, replaced with a swirling vortex of painted darkness. The creature's face appeared within it, now fully formed but still dripping. "Step in," she cooed, her voice layered with dozens of others. "Become art. Become mine." Elias shook violently. His mind screamed to give up, to let the terror swallow him, but something deeper, some spark of survival, ignited. He grabbed a metal bar from a broken shelf and drove it into the pulsating wall behind him. The canvas flesh screamed. The colors recoiled violently. For the first time, the creature hesitated, her face twisting with confusion. Elias realized the painted world could be hurt, and he could still fight. The vortex shuddered, weakening, its edges fraying like torn paper. The creature lunged forward in desperation, its arms stretching unnaturally long to reach him. Elias swung the metal bar again, slamming it across her face. Instead of bones cracking, the impact splattered paint and blood across the swirling void. She shrieked, a sound of pure fury and fear. Elias pushed through the weakening barrier, forcing himself back into his bedroom. Behind him, the creature clawed at the doorway, but its body was collapsing, dripping apart like melting wax. The symbols on the closet door dimmed, flickered, and then vanished completely. The walls steadied, the colors drained away. Elias stood trembling, barely believing he had survived. But then he noticed the portrait lying on the floor outside the closet, its canvas blank, completely blank, and in the center a wet, red fingerprint, his own. Elias stared at the blank canvas, chest heaving, realization sinking like ice into his bones. The creature wasn't dead. It had merely shed its vessel. A rebirth. A reset. The house felt colder, the shadows thicker. Yet, for the first time, Elias felt something else too. Defiance. He wasn't powerless. He had wounded it. He had forced it back. And maybe, just maybe, this thing could be ended. He picked up the blank portrait, gripping it firmly, feeling the faint pulse within the fabric. "You wanted a world to crawl into," he whispered, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "But you forgot one thing. I can paint too." He picked up the fallen brush, the same one she used to bind him, and dipped it into the smeared red pigment on the floor. Then he began to paint. Not a door, not a path, but a prison. A seal. A cage made of symbols. Each stroke fueled by fear turned into strength. As he painted, the canvas shook violently, a furious scream echoing from within. But Elias kept painting, and for the first time, the monster feared him. Elias stumbled out of the burning studio, coughing, blinded by smoke and fear. Behind him, the portrait, now a twisted doorway of flesh and paint, collapsed inward with a scream that sounded both human and monstrous. The woman's half-formed body reached through the flames, her melting fingers stretching toward him, dripping color like blood. For a moment, Elias thought she would drag herself fully into the world. But the fire consumed the canvas faster than she could rebuild herself. With one final shriek of rage, the figure cracked apart, collapsing into flakes of ash and wet red pigment. The breathing stopped. The tapping stopped. The world went silent. When the fire brigade arrived, they found Elias trembling on the pavement, clutching the charred remains of the paintbrush he had used to stab the portrait. They searched the studio twice, then a third time. No body. No traces of a woman. Only a blank, burned frame. Its surface smooth, untouched by any paint at all. But that night, as Elias tried to sleep, a familiar sound crawled back into his ears. A faint inhale, then an exhale. Slow, patient, breathing from inside the empty frame propped against his wall.